Hey everyone, Adam Swartz here. On this episode, I have a legend in the game, Anthony Andre Sr., a Ticor Title. The story that he talks about coming from truck driving to one of the top title reps in this industry. You do not want to miss this epic story. And you know what? One thing I know about Anthony, he is one of the best storytellers I've ever been around. So make sure you check this out, subscribe, comment below, and enjoy. What's going on, man?
Hey, Adam, how are you doing?
Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for finally inviting me.
Finally?
Finally. After you did Rockwell, I thought you've scraped low enough.
Yeah, let's go a little bit lower.
Let's go a little lower.
Yeah, what's lower than a Bugman title rep?
I don't know. The next truck driving title rep, probably.
Yeah, so obviously I know who you are, and a few people that watch this will know who you are, but everyone who follows me on YouTube doesn't. So who are you?
My name's Anthony Andre. I am a title rep extraordinaire.
Attaboy. How long you been doing it for?
16 years last month.
You know, I don't think, we were talking before the podcast how like title reps, like more people always want to give the new person a try, let me try that. And I think that's the thing that probably frustrates you a lot is in this industry, agents are always the loyalty of that. How have you fought that for the last 16 years?
Well, you know what? I'm a product of it. Saying that to you, the new person frustrates me, but also it invigorates me because it is exciting to see the new eyes come in because I remember that. I also understand the pitfalls of it. So when you see somebody new, the look is always, I always wanted to help people because no one helped me when I got in. I did have a couple people that gave me great pieces of advice, but at the time when they told it to me, I was like, I don't even know what you're saying because I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah.
But I do see some new reps. There's very few people that get into our business, and I always ask people, ask yourself why, because it is such a niche business. It's not like real estate. When's the last new title rep you saw?
That is so true that you say that. Like, and being in Riverside, we're such a big city, but like I can name like 5, and it's been the same 5 my whole career.
Yep.
Like I don't know. Like I haven't even seen a new one come on the map.
I always ask people, ask yourself why. Because it's like the mob. You get jumped in, you get brought in. You either need to know somebody. Because I always tell people that I try to bring in, look up in the want ads. You won't see it because it's such a niche business. It's not real estate and it's not lending. It's somewhere in the middle. So when I got in, I had been in the business a long time. My wife's in the real estate industry, so is my family. And I knew all these legends. So then all of a sudden I'm tasked with going up against them. I'm like, I wanted to get their autographs really because I was like, oh my God, these guys and girls are so awesome and they're so put together. And me, the Chris Farley of title.
That'd actually be a great t-shirt for you.
It's not a t-shirt. It was a truth because I went to Men's Warehouse and I got 5 suits or 5 pairs of clothes. And that's what I wore for probably the first 8 years.
You know what sucks? Obviously you're really well known in this industry, in especially the Riverside area, but it's like I've had many conversations with you from the up and coming. You've kind of looked over me, given me some guidance, and it's like the hero story or the coming from not in a good place to where you are now. It sucks that more people don't hear that story because it is inspiring for where being a truck driver to now being a super successful title rep. Like, do you wish that? We were talking before about boasting and how it's so weird in your industry, and I feel kind of weird doing it too, but like to be able to more people to know the coming from this to now you are now.
Yeah, like we and you talk, and always the private conversations are the best. But the thing I always tell people, the top real estate professionals and lenders don't talk. They mostly listen, and they not really have that big of a presence in social media. They just out doing it. But there is a lot of great new young blood yourself that is exciting. In my business, the people I brought in are from an outside industry. Like you said, I drove a truck for 23 years. My parents owned a trucking company. And when I was going to school, Arlington, class of 82, I would have been class of 82 if I didn't drop out. That's all I wanted to do, and I rarely, talk about the story, but it really made me that's all I ever wanted in my life. So I didn't even have time for school. I think I dropped out late 10th or maybe 11th because my dad had a trucking company. That's all I'm going to do. So just like the business I'm in, he had these legendary truck drivers that worked for him in his hay company. So as a young kid, I would go around and rake the yard or, wash the trucks. And just, I thought that was the greatest, because I'm a kid with ADD. During my time, they called it dumb. Now it's ADD. But I just didn't have any attention span for school. Probably much like yourself, or most of the successful people I know are like that. So I just found myself just disinterested. So when I had an opportunity to start unloading the hay trucks and working hard, I think my parents are trying to discourage me by hard work in the sun, but I loved it. So at the time, my dad signed for my license. Back then, you could sign for it and go to work. So I started driving a truck probably at 16, 17, legally and illegally. And then one day, I never turned the truck off at age 40. And, 18-year-old me was excited. 21-year-old me is, awesome. Working in the sun, driving fast, all that. But it really started getting older as I became a father and had kids at home and being gone, age 35 and on. So one day I'm on the road, and I had like the best job in the world. I had a union job running Texas, and I'm leaving home a lot. My kids that's why I always feel, so how amazing it is, these parents that are homeschooling their kids, because, I always tell my wife, I'm like, I don't know how my kids went to school or ate or anything, because I was gone. So because we only make money when the wheels are spinning. So I'm on a trip, age 40, in the middle of Needles, California in the summer, and I just had this epiphany. I was like, I don't want to drive anymore. Like, I pulled over, like, in that moment. Now, looking back, panic attack. I'm pushing down all these feelings of leaving. My daughter, who's my youngest, just hates me leaving. She's hiding my bag. It's all that stuff, man. Gut-wrenching. So I'm on the side of the road, and that's, I've written about it before, but that's when I just, I had a conversation with God. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere on the 40 Water Road. All you river people know that one. And I'm just like looking up, like, I don't know. I don't want to drive. And I'm supposed to go to Memphis, Tennessee. Now, Needle's a little short of Memphis.
Just a tad.
By a couple days. And I'm just like, I don't want to drive anymore. So I call my company. I call my partner at the time, who was on another trip. And I'm just like, they said, come home. They wouldn't even take my resignation. I'm like, I'm done driving. I'm going to give you guys my notice right now. And they're like, no, you've lost your mind, because it's the top of the scale job. So I drive home, leave the keys in the truck, never go back again. Never drove another mile. Age 40. That happened on June 8th, and I start in title June 10th, 2005. Like 2 days apart, I'm in the title business. Now, a friend of mine gets me in, legendary guy, John Perez, who's amazing.
Still around?
He's still around in Riverside, legend, one of the best, the best. He gets me in the business because he told me, I'm like, monkeys can do this. It's '05, people. Money's falling from literally the sky, except if you're new. So here comes, I'm a little bit heavier than I am now. I'm a big boy, and I am not super educated. And another secret I had to tell John is I've never been on a computer in my life. Like, I was the guy that would tell your kids to get on that thing called Amazon and order me underwear. Never been on a computer. So that day, that Monday, I show up at work at 6 in the morning like a truck driver would. They showed up about 8:10 to open the office. So I was like, what do I do? And he's like, okay, just go. I'll take you out in the field, then we'll go to lunch at noon. And, back when you could take people to lunch, and then you go home about 4 or 5. And I was like, what kind of job is this? I can't understand. What? I mean, wait a second. I'm done with 8 hours? So I can only imagine I was like a little deer that walks out into the woods and a pack of gray wolves is around him, because I was really over my head. And there's everybody, you got to remember, '05, there's 90 title reps. Everybody's deep. Everybody's got the right good looking people like yourself, dressed nice, and me. And it was pretty bad. And I got dusted up hard. I mean, people took advantage of me. And rightfully so, because it was the kind of like, and I'm a realtor's husband, they're like, cute. This business is so easy that you're just going to waltz in here and take it. And I go. So now when I see that, I kind of try to either, if they can, I try to impart some wisdom, but also too, I'm dusting you up. Because at some point, and you know this because I'm sure you've talked about it a bunch of times, is some part in things that you want and the things that you need. And to get those things that you put on your vision board, you are going to have to sacrifice something. Time, money, sanity, maybe all of it. And that's why I always love these Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan things. I don't think people put some bullshit Mamba mentality. You don't know who the guy was. The guy made the sacrifices. Read Relentless and then get the new book, Winning, which is written by Tim Grover, about those two. And it just, their cost is so high that people say they want to make it. So me personally, something just happened in me that day. Like I never knew. I mean, people will tell you, you've been to my house. I won't even golf. I'm not competitive with anything except this, because I owe it to them. I owe it to John. I owe it to people that got me in this business. This was a door that was not open for me. So when I see people take it very nonchalantly, it drives me crazy, because it's, and you know, it's the greatest business in the world. Real estate is such an amazing business, but it has highs and lows. So I get the '05, '06 market, greatest market. I mean, I called them people that had like a giraffe in their office. It was crazy, full basketball courts. But it wasn't easy when you're new, because I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even want to. I work for Ticor. I called it Tricor for about a year. A year. Now, Tricor is a medicine, but I was like, it was so hard. But there was so much there that there was enough for a new guy to maybe eke out, call on somebody. They're like, hey, I feel bad for you because you're sweaty, which I was. And the big boys and girls didn't notice me until, and then I got the greatest piece of advice from a guy that I truly respect in this business. And he didn't even know that he said it to me. And years later when I told him, he was like, okay, cool. But he said it, I was sitting outside of an office and I was just dying to not go in this office, because it was just going to be more heartbreak. It was going to be more just doors like people like yourself, doors closing. I'm too new. I'm just, you're not going to put your transaction in my thing. And, and some of the reps are sabotaging you already. They're just, hey, that guy loves to talk. Go up to Adam. He loves it. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then you're like, I hate you. Get out of here. You're like, but he just, oh, he lied. Oh, sorry. I fell for it. But the guy says to me, and I'm sitting out there, and he just says, hey, I see you doing the work. And he says it takes about 3 years. And he goes, in 3 years, people start seeing that you're not going to leave, and they start seeing that you're going to stick. And I'm thinking, I'm getting out tomorrow. I don't have 3 years, because I have a wife and kids in private school, and they ain't coming out for nobody. And, my kids all want to go private school in the down market, but he was right. About third year, I start feeling a little bit, and I start seeing a little bit. And then, so the way I am now, I leave him alone. He's the only one that he's cool with me. But that's why a lot of people in this business, a lot of people think I'm an asshole, because no. I'm passionate because I had to do this myself. I ate the $5 Subways in a parking lot by myself. I've been close to losing everything because I caught every bit of that 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 market. Thank God for short sales. But I caught every bit of that. I mean, I'm just the second. I mean, it's like getting into the third year and it just completely dumps. I mean, every bit of it. And you're like, I can't go back to driving because I let my license go. Because I'd burned my bridge home. I didn't want to be able to get, if I was able to go back, I would have went back. So I just said, I went home and I talked to my wife, and I talked to 3 people that I truly respected in this business. One you had on the podcast, Mr. Doug Shepard, was one of the people, which I didn't even know him that well. But I asked 3 people that I was going to get out of the business. And each one of them said resounding. I don't even know if that's a word. I'm trying to sound intelligent. But they said, each of them, you got this. And I'm like, my bank account's
showing otherwise.
0.
Yeah.
My wife laughs because I had this little chart in my wallet that had my credit card balances. Like maybe they had 100. And I mean, we were just, gas is expensive. The market's crashed. And so that's why it goes back to what we're talking about. When I see somebody new that's so blasé or doesn't have the respect. The one thing I did have in the beginning, I respected this business. I knew the legends.
Yeah.
Brett Rainey, Tammy Bambrick. I knew all the names from the past and present, and I had respect for this business. And that's what, to this day, when I see somebody that takes our business just no respect for it, it really insulting the people from the past. Because it is a very, very difficult business. Now, what makes me excited today is what took me, 5 years, takes Joe 3, who comes in the middle of law school and fights the fight. It's taking sometimes people 2 years because of technology and some of the things. And I don't look at it. I'm going to dust you up because it's the hazing process in this. But it's exciting. It's exciting to see. So when you prepare people for things change or can change, but it's still so exciting. So like I said, your generation gets we've talked about this before, a lot of scrutiny, but they're the people that are gonna cure cancer. They're doing big things. And I'm excited about it. But unfortunately, I got in this at 40. And being the age I am, you guys think I'm 300 years old. I just turned 57. But it's exciting, but that's how I go out there and play. People are like, oh, he's a jerk. No, I just have respect for this. I mean, that's just how it is. When I see somebody, and there are some really great new ones that do have a respect for it. Because if you don't know the past, you ain't going to be able to predict the present, the future. So you have to. So I try to be that person sometimes, the guy that gave me the advice. We compete. But I always try when I see somebody, it's like, hey, this is not meant to be kept. It's supposed to be helped. But you got to want it. I mean, you see it. I mean, there are some people, they just want it. It's like what you're doing. There's never in history people would have a podcast and talk freely and openly and talk about ideas and stuff. That's just it's a new mind, old school. Like that was my issue in my business. None of them talk. So when that guy talked to me, that was like wrote that down because no one tells you anything. It's like in sports, like when you were in umping. Did they tell you anything? Do they share ideas and thoughts and all that?
No, of course not.
And you wonder why.
Because everyone's always scared of being replaced.
Yeah. I guess that's a good thing because I've said this before. Like I said, this is the first podcast I've ever done, but I did an interview. And title reps are like this. I don't care what area you're in. They're not going to help because we may have to fight. We might have to rock. Mm-hmm. And I just find that I understand it. because I see some people. Like there's some reps you meet and you go, this one's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If they put a few things together, they're going to be a problem. So you either dust them up now or wait. But like I always tell people hate this, but the Indians used to kill the young for one reason. That's who comes and gets you. That. So when you see the young new ones, you're right. Like they wouldn't hurt for somebody to give you a little advice about, hey, this. But that's what I like about real estate. And people, they coach, they go to things, they tell each other everything. I see some real estate, they're telling you everything other than what their underwear is. And my industry, there ain't no meeting. Your own brand.
Don't even have masterminds.
They don't.
No.
It's the craziest thing. But I get it. It comes from, you may not even understand what I'm saying. I mean, because, like I said, when that guy told that to me, he might as well told me the cure for cancer. I wouldn't have been able to write it. I didn't understand what he was saying because I was like, you're wrong. I'm out of here. And then later on, I was like, yeah, that was gospel. I mean, that he said that to me. And later on, I saw him at a LA Fitness. He's working out, and I told him. He was just like, yeah, very dismissed. And I was like, okay, I got it. I mean, it was a moment. It had the look on his eyes like I really regret that I said that to you and saved your life, but he did, and it was huge.
Do you feel like because title, like we were talking before, like it's so rare people come and go, but in real estate, realtors, like a lot of realtors know, like that person's gonna be gone in 2.5 years. Like I don't have to be worried what I'm telling this person because they're not gonna be around for they're gonna be out in 3 years. So what does it really even matter?
I think that it's the thing is that I've done like I study because you know what? That's why I love people like yourself. I like the derelicts. I like the throwaways, the untouchable ones because those are the ones that become it. The top real estate agents I know in this industry, their backgrounds are so diverse. It's just amazing who becomes from what they were. There's so many stories like mine where they just, that's why I love, me and Doug. Doug was just like, he talks about, he is so polished, but he'll tell stories of before a presentation, he would go throw up on the curb.
Yeah.
And you don't even imagine that because
nowadays he walks in the room and you wouldn't even think.
There ain't a mic that he don't want to grab.
He walks by and he just grabs one.
And you know it, but no one ever feels like he struggled.
No.
And his story is all that, starting out in the 70s and, and all that. It's so, I always just look at that and go, the people. So you see people, but I always find that the information they seek. And that's the reason why I feel if you see the top real estate agents or lenders, look at the people in their circle. Mm-hmm. I do. I study it. The ones I try to get or want to get or the ones I have is there's a reason they use who they use. Everybody serves a purpose. Yes, some got there when they were new. Some got there, and believed in them and they, and maybe, there's so many stories I had heard of reps that misread a new person and didn't give them my wife, tells the story of a rep that wouldn't give her an appointment book when she was new. Now
look at her.
What
an idiot.
Well, that one's not in the business anymore, but she had a career. But I get it now when you're rocking and rolling in an office and you see a new you and you maybe go to the one who's got it now. I am always, and I try to teach my people, be very wary of that because we do a hot cold because you never know who becomes it. Because like I said, the people that move the needle here, including yourself, come from such, how many umpires are in this business?
0.
Probably 0.
Yeah.
I didn't even know when we spoke about it how crazy that is because you just don't know. You think the guy behind it's just somebody who can't see and does a bad call every time, but you don't realize the life, the struggles.
Well, I think that's what we have a lot in common, right? Mm-hmm. Like I remember in 2000 and what year was it? 16 was my last year, and I remember being in Tacoma, Washington after a 6 a.m. flight out of Memphis, I think it was. Flew in town, got 3 hours of sleep, and I remember getting dressed to go to the ballpark, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, to do the same thing, be away from family, living in hotels, traveling nonstop, and then just be miserable out there, and then have the feeling like, well, like, I have to do this. Like you said, like, if the wheels aren't moving, we ain't getting paid. If I ain't on the field, I ain't getting paid. And then, but you have all these responsibilities back home where it's like, you know, probably people are like, Anthony, why don't you get into title earlier? Look how successful. People were saying to me, why don't you get into real estate earlier? It's like, I knew nothing about this industry.
Well, being an umpire as you're talking, I literally, that's a world like this. I literally had no clue about them. I just thought they were just some nameless, faceless person that sits in the back. They're waiting for a radar to maybe, but you don't realize the world. So that's why when I did the new book by Tim Grover, Winning, I had to pull over. Like he had a part on there that got me emotional. He was talking about the cost of all this. And he goes, no one ever tells you. He's like, you're packing your bag to go somewhere because he has to be wherever his athletes were. And he's packing his suitcase, and his little daughter comes up to him, and she goes, you know, why are you going? And he says, you know, because I got to go because this feeds you, Mommy, and everybody. And he says, the little girl looks at him and says, if I promise to eat less, can you stay? And he says in the book, he said, I had to turn away because I didn't want her to see me crying. He goes, writing this right now is making me cry. But he says, I wish I could tell you a storybook ending, but he goes, I kept packing and I left because I had responsibilities. So to me, what's happened to you and what happened to me is the worst thing that happens to us is we get a conscience. I mean, since 18 till I was 40, I've been packing a bag and leaving. And just one day, whether it was my daughter or something, I started getting a conscience on the road. And I had been struggling. There were some things now I look back going, yeah, I was struggling. You know, I had a really great partner that passed away, you know, once I got out the truck. I mean, it's a bad life, same as being an umpire. They're not healthy looking. No. I mean, you're eating shit. You're doing
stress.
Yeah, you're stressed.
Distract yourself with.
You're by yourself all the time.
So
you're probably drinking.
Yep.
And I was really not happy, and I had some really key mentors. Even then, I had mentors, and they were like, "Dude, this life isn't for you." I'm like, "No, I'm good," because I kept stuffing it down. So either it comes out in Tacoma or it comes out in Needles. I got a conscience. In that minute, I just couldn't shake it off anymore because that many years, my two boys didn't care. They were okay, and then that moment, I'm like, I don't want to be gone another day. I don't want to, you know. So when I got into title, the same thing kicked in. All those I had a fight to be in driving. Driving world had the same business. You're a young driver in the union, old drivers screwing with you. Same thing. I always tell people, title or real estate industry reminds me, even though I've never been there, of prison. Somebody's trying to get you to think their way. Same as when you get in the union. There are people that want you in their tribe, the negative, unhappy, or there's the guys that are making the good money and girls, and then there's the positive people. I always just did my own thing. I always made the most money there. But I knew it wouldn't be easy. My wife would tell you, they call me on Easter, I go to work. So the same thing happened here. So when I got in this business, there's always people trying to shape you. Think their way. Think like that, we got to bet. So if you think it's a bad market, it is a bad market. This is just a market. Doug can talk because he did, real estate for Jesus. He's that
pretty
old.
Close.
But my thing is, it's just like, it's the same thing. So even when you're in real estate, you're in Tacoma. You're still sheltered sometimes because you're probably in your group doesn't think like you. Everybody wants to, make some money and go backpack Europe. No. There are people in this that get in and they are super serious. Like you talked about Joe. Joe was super serious from the start. Like he was like, I'll do whatever it takes to do this. And you see them pay the cost. I mean, he was just in the business. He called me from his honeymoon. And he's like, I can't stop thinking about it. And I'm like, that's when I knew. This one's got it. Because, it's just like, I just think people major in the minor. I think mostly that's social media. People can take photos by cars they don't own. They can do things. They can fake it. They can bullshit it. But in the background, which is us, you know who's who. You've been with the ones. You see the ones that are doing the work. So the market, good or bad, it doesn't matter to me or you. We're going to go out there. It's the same as sports. We're going to go out there. We're going to go fight. We're going to go do our best. So that's why I'm always so fascinated with people's backgrounds, because it's just, they always have this view that some people are these Harvard-educated realtors. No. Most of them just came from such different things. They weren't good for anything else, but they understood this. So think of the top ones. Top ones are just so diverse. Same thing when I got into title. I just wished to look like some of them and act like some of them, and I had to do me. And I started trying to do that in the beginning, and my wife told me, "You just stop talking like that. You're laughing weird. You're acting weird. You just be you." And I'm like, well, they ain't gonna like me. So that's the whole thing about this, is the sayings, if you can, you must. I think Grant Cardone says something like that, but it's the truth. If you can, you must. So to me, many times I still feel like I'm on the side of the road in this business. I mean, the ones that want it the best, I'm sorry to tell you folks, don't sleep well.
Never.
And that, to me, is the thing we struggle with. That's why I love that book, Winning, so much, because it talks about all that. It's just, winning doesn't care. It doesn't. And winning means a lot of different things. What a great business that a high school dropout can do more than he's ever thought he was going to do. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much more is there. So when I see somebody do something else and do more, it excites me. It doesn't make me envious. Never has. I've never been where I go out in the field and I'm envious of somebody. I just always look and go, either we're going to fight or we're going to be friends. Either I should recruit you or something, but you're not going to just come get my family's food without a fight. Because that's how it was for me, man. There were some of the ladies were the most vicious. Hell, I got one on my team now. She was all, Charlotte.
I think it's crazy, when I have conversation with agents, and you talk about agents sharing information, which I share a lot.
Yeah.
But I've had people come to this office before, and I've sat down with them, and I've been talking and whatever, and I've looked across them and said, if it's me versus you, I will slit your throat for that deal.
Cool.
And that's how I think, and that's how it is. And he goes, He looked at me, and I go, that's how it is. We're all cool, but when it comes down, this is how I roll, and be prepared for that. And you better come. So if you're going to an appointment, I'm going to an appointment, you better be ready to show up and compete.
I think like I said, of late, the passing of Kobe, people got very much in the show Last Dance with Jordan. That was him. They don't hate you, just they're going to come through you because that's what you're meant to do. Mm-hmm. And it's not you're going to slit his throat real, but there's just I'm going to be more prepared, or I'm going to do better. Like I said, there's some people that are blasé, and they do a lot of sayings like, "Oh, you're this," because don't put that on me because of your failures.
Yeah,
because you're not willing to put the work in.
For sure.
And that's why they're 12 easy steps to this. There is no easy steps. In real estate, if you go talk to the real true legends, they will tell you, Doug's probably had 4 cycles.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Each cycle felt bad. I mean, I'm really glad I felt that last one. The only one I've ever had, which I felt was the worst thing in the world, because the light switch was gone. There was nothing. And I'm glad, because that's what made me. I was born that day. And that's why, people that are friends with me on Facebook, that's why I write the things about my wife. Because I came home and I was just, again, I was always the late to the party guy. Oh, you should have been here. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Guns N' Roses just left. Oh, my God. I was always the late to the party guy. Went to work and got this union job I had waited 3 years for. They were like, oh, we're going on strike in 2 days. They never did, but I was like, what? And guys just like fucking with young guys.
Yeah.
But they were. And I was like, oh, my God, I just got here. So I just get in this business, down market. I'm like, I'm just starting to know how to give a Ticor online to people.
Yeah.
I just literally got a parking space. And you know what? The real estate gods or any sales gods come to you and go, now it's time to pay.
Yeah.
Time to pay the rate. They'll give you some easy. It's like me and you, we ride a mountain bike.
Yeah.
They'll give you some easy. Then there's this hill. And as you get older or older in the business, you go, each real estate agent I have ever talked to says the same thing. I don't know if I got it to go up this again. But they do. They put their helmet on and they keep going. They
put their head down and go.
But that's why everybody's like, grab all the easy ones because, but to me personally, I look forward to a tough market because it'll show the real ones. Because the ones that are getting a little living out there, it's your time for your test. I did it. Every legend did it and did it again and did it again. That's why they looked at me. And then I started noticing they weren't so friendly to me. And then when you start feeling it, then they really don't like you. And then they want to persecute you. And they got to take you down. In the down market is where I started my group. There were no groups at this time. I mean, anybody can sit there and start talking about they had a group. They didn't. And it simply happened, again, my wife, I went to work one day and the market had crashed and my company said, hey, we're going to just take away your salary and your car allowance and your cell phone. They had no confidence in reps. We don't need them anymore because the market's crashed. Again, last to the fun. And I just went, oh my God. I think I called my wife. My wife's like, you tell them that they wanted to meet the next day. You said, you tell them you ain't meeting. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, in what world do you talk back to your employers? This business. And I did. And the guy I said it to said, okay, we'll give you yours back. It was like $1,500, folks.
Yeah.
I work for that guy still to this day. The only person I've ever worked for to this day. You've met him many times. But can't say his name. He's like a ghost.
He is.
But
I finally met him for the first time, and I'm like,
he's
real. I've spoken to him on the phone.
Well, that moment, he looked me in the eye like he saw it. He was like, okay, we're going to give you your car allowance back. Not your cell phone. Like 3 years later, I guess they had given it back, and I never even knew it. But that's when it was made. And so I went home, and I told my wife, she's like, you might as well just do your own thing. So at that time, I just said, I'm going to start the Andre Group. I had an assistant partner who believed in me, and I said, I'm just going to made the logo and did it. No one cared. The company didn't care. We didn't have business cards. No one cared. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
But we were made. When you get tested, like I said, that moment, you probably look back in Tacoma and go, that was the moment to either push through or stop. And every great thing that ever happened to me, other than my wife, I had always just stopped. When driving got hard, I quit. School got hard, quit. So when this got tough, I said, this was the only thing. It took everything. It's the only thing I didn't quit because I was like, so when I see somebody blasé or they come up on me, I'm like, you ain't never been in Tacoma, brother.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's so interesting is that it's like it's funny how things work out, right? Like your upbringing of driving and having to drive, and if you've never had that job where no one cares, the truck better be there on time. Mm-hmm. and you got to get it there and you have to go. The moment you take those grit or skills or whatever you want to say and drive it into any other career, people don't know. Like I tell people all the time, they're like, how do you work every day? I was like, I used to work 29 days in a row, work a game, drive 12 hours and work another game the next night. Like, and no one cared if you were tired, sick, someone died. Like, you get, good or bad, you get in this, I'm not going to compare some to people in the Army, but you get built a certain way.
I think the reason that I think you're good, because I've told you this, let's think about an umpire. You're getting yelled at all the time.
All the time.
Second guessed. Some of those guys, and I'm sure you've been in, the games are huge. TV, scrutinized. People are yelling at you. So you learn conflict resolution. You learn to be, they probably teach you better feel pretty proud of yourself and have a good, because
you got to have confidence.
Because you're going to have a player just, if they can just push you around.
Take you apart, yep.
They will push you around.
Yeah.
So you never, like a umpire or a rep, you never even think of that job.
Yeah.
Like one day you're just like, you don't even know what they make. So you look and go, wow. Same as a truck driver. There were no healthy ones. You only made money when the thing is spinning, and you were gone. And you learn a lot. Because the thing is, I learned when I got in the business, I will outwork you.
Yeah.
If we, there's some of my friends that like to say, post that they woke up at 5 in the morning. There's 5 p.m. too, and there's all the other days too, because it's on social media. We got to take a picture of our watch. Okay, but the problem is, it's like, that's what we all have in common. We all came from like a different thing. So you would never think like, wow, an umpire, you would learn resolution. Like being yelled at by a client in their air-conditioned house probably is not as bad as being in the Dominican Republic in the summer, being yelled at in a language. And
I have no idea what's going on.
And maybe be killed? I don't know.
Yeah, we've had some close calls.
But that sets you perfectly for that. So the thing is, like, truck driving, I felt, was very similar.
But it's like when someone comes out of like Ivy League college, I'm like, you never had a job before? Gotcha. Like, good luck. You've never had any conflicts in your life? No, your parents are rich? All right, put me versus you. Let's go.
But that's not any of this, because all the people I see, the real ones, the ones, because being in the background, like you had Rockwell and stuff like that, that's the thing we could talk about. Is the background of stuff is where you see the real things. Like if you're a character at Disneyland, you get to see the real things.
Yeah.
How things are really, and where the costume comes on. It's, your eyes will open up. Same as being in the service part of this. You see the ones. Yeah, and there's a lot of people. If you don't put some things together, you will be washed out. So most people, I always heard this the last up market. I hope they wash some of these people out, only to be some of them are washed out. Because the things are going to come. Like right now, people are like, oh my God, I can't wait till this slowed down. Oh shit, it slowed down.
They're all freaking out.
I can't wait till we get back to a buyer's market. So to me, this taught me everything. I mean, it's like after that, I mean, I could go to Mexico and have a coconut stand and have no problem, because it sets you. Because being in this sort of business, same as you're splayed out there. Every insecurity or problem you have is going to get exposed. And so that's why I always tell people, when I went out in the field, I had a little book on each of my people I competed against. I was like, I know I'm not going to rock with this one on this. That would be like me fighting a bear. But I know they don't have this, and they don't have that. I got funny. That goes a long way when you're trying to search for something in an office with people that are closing their door on you. So what were they supposed to do? Of course they were. You see new people. You're not that bad. It's just, you got to like real quick, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
I have a pin. I'm going to fire my guy that let you in here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. So I think it's like, I always admire comedians and stuff. Like you're up there like
stand-up
talent night, and you just got to come
open
up.
mic night.
Open mic. You're like, so you're from Buffalo, right? No? Okay. That's why everybody says, all the top comedians, they love to go bomb, because you learn, just like you. You're in a game, they're yelling at you. Player hates you. Everybody hates you. Nobody likes the umpires or a referee. Okay. Everybody's trying to tell you their way. And you have to make a stand. It's same as you go into a house and make a listing presentation.
Yeah,
you got to go in there and be confident in that. So
it's funny how many people who are young in any in title or lending or escrow or whatever, and they always want to go like, oh, I want the big dogs. I'm like, do you know what the big dogs take? I said, do you know? I said, and I brought your name up for him. Like, yeah, you might see Anthony come in and leave, and you don't see him, and he doesn't stop by your office. But then you're like, why does the top guy use him? It's like, do you think that's why they're using him? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, you don't even know what it would take to get that person. So I've had people come to me, and luckily I have if for any title rep who ever watches this or anyone, like, you come to my office, I'll never use you. You don't show up here without asking. I have a closed door policy, right? And it's like, you come here, and then you're like, oh, here's an app. I'm like, cool. Yeah. Get out of here. I have 7 videos to shoot today, and I'm busy. And so the thing that people don't get is that it's like, I actually took this line from you that you took from Doug Shepard, is that, what do you think, I'm that easy that you're going to just take me away from someone I've been working with for 7 years or 10 years on a bottle of water and an app? Come on, people. And if that's all you think that person offers, then you've lost.
Glad you say that. I know what people think, because I thought those same ways. Because when you're sitting in the field, you feel like, one, it's like the pretty girl in a school. I don't even think I can have the swagger for that. And they're already taken. And you think, oh, but it must be this. When the truth be told, that's just excuses I was saying to myself, because there's a lot of people that say things I don't listen to about why somebody does. It's the pretty girl syndrome. Because, first of all, I've not known you, had you, lost you before, had to bring in a reliever, and because things change in people's career. There are times in my career that I was a one-man band, and I did it all. And then the hardest thing is you got to get an assistant, because you can't get it all, because then you get coached by people that says there's no reason why you should be doing that. That's low-hanging. Go make more money. So it was just always a dance. So when I hear people say those things, that's just you. Are you telling yourself, me? Are you telling yourself that's why you're failing? Is because I can't do that because they got, they do this, and that. Tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself. You, me, naked, I'll still beat you. Because I did the work. My time in the field, which is still changing, I'm going through changes now that, no one tells you anything. This business, no one tells you how to do it, do better, deal with the problems, not one person. To have a rep talk to it, it's not. Real estate agents, you'll talk about splits, you'll talk about offices, you'll talk about all kinds of stuff. Not here. But the point being is, I learned myself. So when you think you have somebody that's like, hey, I would love to talk to you, only to sit there and say stuff about that person, okay, cool. You show me how you're going to do. Because I see a lot of people that push their inabilities off on people because they just, oh, I'm fat because I have fat genes. No, you're fat because for your genes, you eat too much.
Yeah.
I say a lot of things. I have a personal trainer, but it comes down to, you can do this, but you won't do that. I know super in shape people that don't make money. I mean, so to me, it's a constant battle, and the business changes. So when I see younger people come in, the landscape has changed, and I'm glad for it because I like the outliers like yourself and Joe, and I like the new people.
Well, so you're saying you like the destruction.
I like to see the destruction of the business because it needs to be reconstructed. Because let me tell you, 5 years ago, I said this to some people that their son is one of the first investors in Uber. I said, 5 years ago, if I'd have told you I'm going to get in a stranger's car when I'm drunk to take me home, I'd have called you a liar. There has to be outliers. There has to be change, or it gets stale. Like these people like, oh, I don't like the da-da-da-das. Embrace it. You have a smarter consumer. But how you lose people to Zillow is you lose them. When I lose people, I lost them. I let them off the hook, or I didn't give them, they weren't that important at the time, or I let them think that they're, and it's such a like science project, because it just changes constantly for me. So you can't just make a living housing all the top or going after the top. You have to have the new. So you have to make an investment. So when I see somebody, or you make that investment, you're like, I think this one's you're gonna come with me. Because if I'm a new rep, a new agent, I'm trying to get the attention of the biggest and baddest. Because there's a reason why that person works. Why does the top guy in my office or girl work with those people?
Well, and I think that's what I don't understand with a lot of agents. And I'm like, do you not realize like if you work with a crappy lender and then you're always worrying about the lending, that's taken away from doing deals. If you're always working with a crappy escrow company, and then if you're working with a crappy title, if you're working at a crappy brokerage, like every time, a saying I always have is that you only have so much time and energy in one day. And the more you waste energy on things that do not bring value to the table to make money, then you're not going to make any money. Like people go, I had an interview yesterday with a new agent. She's like, how do you do all of this in one day? And I'm like, I don't worry about lending. I don't worry about escrow. I don't worry about title. I don't worry about paperwork. I don't worry about this. I don't worry about editing. All I do is, worry about 3 things, and that is it. And I only use that much time in one day.
I like I said, most people that I know that are successful, let those people. I have a person that washes my vehicles. I almost had a stroke washing my own car because it was hot.
Yeah.
And he does a great job. And I have one person that does my hair, and then people take care of you, take care of them. Mm-hmm. But I also understand when I was newer, I couldn't get the clients that I wanted. Now, I felt that confidence, because like will work with like.
Yeah.
You feel confident. I think it was Chris Rock that said, anything you mumble to a lady ain't getting done.
Yeah.
And it's when you feel that confidence. But it doesn't always work. Yes, we're in a niche business where people use who they like. I like that person. That's why I use them. Okay, cool. But then, the rubber will meet the road, where you'll have to get into something that, I always tell people, don't let my Facebook posts fool you. I know what I'm doing, but the problem is it's just been a series of getting better and stronger to be able to walk up to that person and say, hey, I know right away, because that's a great thing about social media, that you're not going to be a pens and pencil person. Your office isn't, and that's the thing I try to tell people. I'll come as much as you want, or as little as you want, or not at all. But that does help when I see a new rep out there doing I used to do 15 offices, 20 offices a day. I used to do UPS because I was making my name. So that's why people are like, oh, we may go down to lockdown again, whatever. I'm not worried about that, because I built my name.
Yeah. Brand will outweigh anything else.
Exactly. So the thing is that I do appreciate, like when I listened to your interview with Brett, is it's still him in the field.
Yeah.
I still go out in the field. It's just I go a little bit more. I'm more sniper, not shotgunning anymore. But I still go in offices, on calls. I mostly make appointments. But it was really difficult to, once I stepped further and further and further out of the field, to trust the people you have.
It's hard.
Because I always tell people it's the doctor analogy. One day I was at the doctor, and it hit me, because I went to this highly recommended doctor, and I went to the front person, and she checked me in. I was like, okay, I'm here to see such. Cool. Then the nurse brings me back. I think it's a nurse. She takes my blood pressure, sits me back outside. Another lady calls me in, gets me a room. Another nurse sits me down, goes over the chart, asks me a couple of questions. Why are we here? Blah, 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 blah. I say, okay, cool. 15 minutes later, in walks doctor. Okay, da, da, da. So I'm like, finally the specialist. So I sit there, and she sits there and goes, blah, 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 blah. Maybe there 15 minutes, maybe. Out the door we went. So I look at the rest of the people, and I saw. So I said, that's the way I want to run my business. Mm-hmm. I don't need to know about that.
Yep.
What the cups and all that, I don't need to know about that. But I do need to be the technician of it all. So as you step further and further back, most of them were duplicated, and we have assistants, which was really difficult to do at times because we all believe we do it smarter than everybody else. But it empowers, and it's like a little bit easier way to bring people into our field. I would have probably liked that, but I was probably not built to go behind somebody. I was really built to go out in the field, because that's how we do it in title. We just kick you out there.
Yeah.
It's sink or swim, man. It's a jungle. But, to me, that was what made me kind of do the group. And every once in a while, I'll ask, like, hey, I don't see an Adam deal coming in. You're like, okay. Then I look into the problem like, oh. So you go out there, and it's like, there's little new mice out there eating my grain. Not today.
Well, that's the issue that people don't get. It's like, I always tell people, like, I have clients who are like, I only talk to Brittany. I'm like, it's like the doctors.
Good.
And they go, what do you mean? I go, when there's bad or good news, I'll be the person you talk to. But all the nonsense, like your blood pressure and your check-in and your weight and things like that anyone can do, that's what we have her for. Because when something's crazy going on, you're going to want me being focused on your problem, not just taking your blood pressure.
Well, by the way, Brittany
is
very battle tested.
Oh my God, I don't know how I got so lucky with her.
But most people that I know that are successful in the business, they have no clue who's doing the inspection, and they should show up to go get more, because that is your skill. It's like when you get married, we both have separate jobs, and that job you need to do. So for me, what that gets taken care of, but what I take care of is the bad news and having the price reduce and this and that and all that, because that's what I'm paid for.
That's what we get paid for.
But also, a lot of times people, when they want to duplicate themselves, it's a very, very difficult thing.
It is.
Because they think, first of all, to be successful in this business or any business, you have to have that ego that I am the answer to this. So one day you have to begrudgingly hand stuff over to Brittany or somebody, which kills you, because I still to this day will, answer an email that Hector did 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And he yells at me, and because it just, you made this.
Yeah.
This is yours.
Yeah. It's hard to give it up.
You baby, but as you further and further step back, it gives you a chance sometime to look at it more closely, and then so every once in a while you lose to the new mice. But also too, there is a part that's a little bit like, good, because this wasn't meant to be blown up after me. This is meant to be, I may be in a different place. I may just, I want to run my own thing. But I also, everybody who did it did that work. That's why you run into them sometimes, those salty agents, because they did it. But it's never you should come from like, hey man, I'm better than you because I've been in there 30 years.
Yeah.
That's you could. How many of those years were good? But I just know the ones, like I said, that are so good at it because they perfected it over time, and then it gets. My industry is like trying to catch a greased pig. It is never never got it, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Oh, did we do everything?
We did.
We did it all. We go long?
No, we're at an hour. Anthony, something that people don't know about you is that the conversations that you can have with someone is what I think separates you from the rest, and the knowledge that you can drop based on life experience and watching the ups and downs of people go through. And that's why I think that why I would never work with a brand new person. It sounds awful to say, because it's like I want to have the people around me that have gone through the downs, the ups, the changes, and they can guide me in the right direction. I think that's why I laugh when someone goes, "Here's an app and a pin." Cool. But when I call you because this and this and this is happening in this market and you've never seen it before, you're not going to be able to help me. So I appreciate you, everything you do for me and for my career and all the conversation we have. And thanks for stopping by, man.
Thank you.
Until next time, guys. Peace.